And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Looks like it's just me today. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture twice a week, every week, wherever you get your podcasts. Inside Sports, Fantasy Football. We just did an episode talking about, do you need to change the way you draft? So go ahead and check it out today, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, as well, a big shout out to our member that's out there, Xbox. Truly appreciate you joining us. We give you the big shout out first and foremost for being a member of the Lakers Fast Break membership plan. Starts at $2.99 a month, right there for you. Get a whole bunch of emojis, badges, and you do get shout outs and call outs from us right here at the Lakers Fast Break. So truly appreciate it. If you want to go ahead and join, it's right there for you. It's in the description. So go ahead and become a member today of the Lakers Fast Break. Hernan says Kobe forever. Our last year to celebrate Kobe in terms of being in the year 2024. That's right, Hernan. I know. And as Joe very unastutely pointed out, yes, yesterday's day was Kobe's birthday. But I thought I'd talk today on what a lot of people do celebrate Kobe Day for, as far as 8/24. Those are the numbers that he played with. And it is August 24th, 2024. So we thought we'd go ahead and talk a little bit about Kobe, about some of your great memories. So I'd love for you out there, if you're listening, you're watching, please share some of your great memories that you have. Because we always go and talk about Kobe and how we thought of him, the greatness, the things that we loved, we enjoyed, we were passionate about, his drive, his energy, his enthusiasm, his fire, the things he would say, the things he would do. Sometimes, with some of the individuals on the show, they've talked about some of the things that frustrated them about Kobe, but nobody will ever say against his greatness and the things that he did that for the Lakers. Kobe was just absolutely. Joe is not coming on today. That's what he said. He said, Joe said he did not want somber yapping was his day. So even though it is Kobe Bryant Day, Joe didn't want to go ahead and come on with some somber yapping, as he said. So CZG03, I guess he will not be coming on today unless he decides otherwise. But I promise no somber yapping from me. It is Gerald Glassford, because I want to hear from you out there, your great memories of Kobe Bryant. So if you have someone, please put it in the comments, or you can email us, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. It would be a great change of pace if you could tell us some good things, because all we got lately is a bunch of trash and stuff we can't even spend real time on because they're so valueless as far as what gets sent to our email. I'd like to see some positive things. So if you want to go ahead, put in the comments below, put it in the comments right now, and go ahead and let us know some of the great things about Kobe that you loved, because we would love to hear it. Because I know for me, I loved his drive, his motivation, his continual desire to play and to win. Even when his game started to slide in the later years of his career, that his drive to win, his drive to push harder never stopped. And that's something, wherever you say about Kobe, this, that, the other, you cannot take away from the guy's motivation and will to win, as there are very few players in any sport that had as great of a desire to win, to compete at the highest level as Kobe Bryant. Oh, so Joe is going to come on. Mr. Clickbait himself, he wants to come on and not do some somber yapping. So again, I'm more about you guys out there. What inspires you about Kobe Bryant? Because he still resonates to this day. JSJ says, I'll always remember when he took over that Raptors game. He was so clutch in 2013. So if that's the case, yes, absolutely. JSJ, again, Toronto does not have great memories of Kobe, and I think we all know why. The 81-point game. Everybody remembers that as far as if you're followers of the Lakers or of Kobe Bryant because of how great a number that is because and it was reminded the other day about when it came to Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game. Very few people have seen it, or very few people saw it. Very few people are alive that can talk about it. There's no footage, there's no photos. The only photo is after the game where he shows the 100. There's only the proof as far as what the score and the writing that was done on time, the secondhand reporting that was done. There's no video, there's no anything up. So the closest we have to that type of performance is Kobe Bryant's 81-point game, and how fantastic a game that was. A game that I saw live, a game that I will remember forever, a game that I cannot believe, even to this day, that still stands the test of time as far as a single human performance in basketball. Absolutely. But yes, CCGO3. I guess Joe has to come on the air, even though I will chide him for his comments because he wanted to come on and do some clickbaity things. I want to talk Kobe Bryant on Kobe Bryant Day because this is Kobe Bryant Day. Yes, cool bro. That's why I in advance scheduled this show, put a Kobe Bryant as a picture on it because I do know it's Kobe Bryant Day, but his birthday was yesterday. But we honored Kobe Bryant on 8/24 because of the numbers that he held, the numbers that he carried so dear as a member of the Lakers. And absolutely, as someone who admired Kobe throughout his career, maybe a little bit frustrated from time to time with some of his shot selection. But again, absolutely no one can question the man's drive and will to win because it is at a level that almost no other NBA player, maybe save Michael Jordan, has ever had in the game of basketball. So I want to go ahead and ask you guys again, tell me some of your great thoughts. Tell me some of the great memories that you have. Because obviously I don't want any somber yapping, as Joe called it, on this show. Today, I just wanted to come on for just a few minutes just to go ahead and remember Kobe on Kobe Bryant's Day, because this is a Lakers show that does remember the greats of all time. Later on, coming up in this season, the Lakers themselves will remember Michael Cooper as he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. He'll also have the whole jersey retirement thing coming up during the course of this season. So as the Lakers remember their greats, we will remember the greats alongside with it. And of course, Kobe Bryant Day is it. CCGO3 said, I think the most important thing is that he inspired many people with his mentality, which can not only be used in sports, but in life as well. Very well said, CCGO3. Very well said. The Mamba mentality. Of course, the Black Mamba, the Mamba mentality. And it's so funny in research that I was doing before the show, just some of the things that he was called over the course of his career. I forgot, actually. Obviously, we know Black Mamba. That's absolutely, we talk to this day about the Black Mamba, of course. But KB24, he had a nickname of course. You know why for there. Vino, Showboat, Little Flying Warrior, The Eighth Man, and Lord of the Rings were all references to Kobe Bryant. If you look at basketball references on nicknames for Kobe Bryant, I don't remember any of those other ones. I remember Lord of the Rings, but it's so funny because Vino, Showboat, and Little Flying Warrior, I guess that may have come out earlier in his career, maybe during his years in high school, but still great performances by Kobe. Just exemplify just truly how much beloved he is in Lakers culture. JSJ says Kobe won Kenobi. Well, Basketball Reference didn't have that one, but that's obviously a good one as well. Lord of the Rings, I like that one. I've been trying to see if they have up there a Lord of the Rings style with the actual wording Lord of the Rings, but had the rings, because I occasionally wear a Lakers shirt with the rings on it, but would have loved to find a Lord of the Rings type motifs with the Lakers rings on it. Still looking for that. Maybe get that one day if I can get it. But JSJ says that was one of his gamer tags. Well, there you go. But Kobe, even to this day, is still thought of and memorialized and remembered so fondly. He lives on in our memory because of what he did, his greatness, and I think, like you said, CCGO3, the sheer Mamba mentality that he had. So again, I just wanted to spend a few minutes with you guys, just honoring Kobe, because I think we'd be remiss if we didn't do that on Kobe Day. We were not on live for Kobe's birthday day, so we thought we'd come on today on Kobe Bryant Day to go ahead and remember the life and times of Kobe Bryant without getting somber, without doing any somber yapping per se, as Joe said and I asked him to join me on this show. So we'll see. He said he's going to come on here in a few minutes, and I'll let him go ahead and speak. Again, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you joining us. But yeah, again, I didn't want to be on too long tonight and overstay my welcome. I just wanted to acknowledge the greatness and think positive. Yes, it is. It's now we're now a few years removed from the passing of Kobe Bryant, and it still hurts even to this day. And for all the joking I do about Joe and what his reasons were for not initially wanting to come on, I understand because it still hurts for him. He's talked about it on the show about how much it still resonates about his passing with him. If you go back in our archives on YouTube or Facebook and you look back upon those days when we first covered the tragedy on those days, and I had on Rafael Barlow, I had on Laker Tom at that point in time, just how devastated we were. I was actually getting the Kleenex on air. I was really tearing up myself because it was so devastating. But 4 years have passed, and I think now as the Lakers begin to honor him with the first two of a planned 3 statues. Second one looks like they've gotten right. There seems to be no controversy there. Third one that's still on the way. It is now time we should start celebrating the life of Kobe Bryant. Start really embracing the ideals that he put out there as far as drive, the motivation, because we see so much of our sports heroes these days thinking ourselves, you know what, if that was Kobe, we need to go. He would be more in the gym. If that was Kobe, he would be hustling out there and giving it his all. If that was Kobe, he would be playing harder on the defensive end. If that was Kobe, he would go ahead and make sure that he is taking the last shot. I know that's still the mentality of a lot of fans out there, and that's because Kobe drove it in you. Kobe's will to win, his sheer desire to go ahead and be the very best he could be, was inspirational to us all. And Blue Magic, great to have you here. I haven't seen you in a while, so great to have you here. Good, of course, it is Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this thing. Truly appreciate it. Thought I'd just stop on for just a few minutes, just to, again, celebrate in good-natured fortune in regards to Kobe Bryant on Kobe Bryant Day. So JSJ said, if that was Kobe, we'll never draft you're still clinging on to that one. I love the other day when you guys we had mentioned, or I mentioned Bronny James, and like 3 or 4 of you guys said, I forgot we drafted him. I thought that was pretty funny that you guys said that because I can't. And in regards to Bronny James, just play him in the first game, send him to South Bay for the rest of the season. Let him develop there. There you go. Problem solved. Xbox says, "Good day, boys. R.I.P. Kobe died on Australia." Yep. Xbox, it is always great to have you here. Our first member on the membership plan, again, $2.99 a month. Truly appreciate you doing so and it being a great part of what we do here at the Lakers Fast Break. Gave you a shout out at the beginning of the show. I just wanted to come on for a few minutes and acknowledge Kobe on Kobe Bryant Day and just say how important he was to myself, and wanted to hear from you. what are some of the things that really makes you, that really resonates with you? How is it that he is so much part of what you are and what you think, what your life is all about? Because I know with a lot of you Lakers fans that he is, even to this day, years after his passing, he is still in a positive way so much a part of your life. What that he is all about. And here today, now he's joining me, even though, again, no somber yapping here. It is, of course, my good friend, the guy who, again, is the man behind Ox1947 at LakersBall.com. And, of course, his company right there, Sin Blades, in full shot. Sin Blades with a Y.com. It is Joe Sorrell. And, Joe, no somber yapping today. I just wanted to go ahead and, again, acknowledge Kobe on Kobe Bryant Day, 8/24. So with that it said, you always talk about the Mamba mentality, about the performances that he's had. What performance really resonated Kobe to you?
Which individual performance?
Yeah, there must have been one that really just said that after the game, you were just like, wow, this guy's going to be real special.
It's a good one. If I had to pick, it obviously there was a lot, but I will pick this one because I was there, and that was the Tracy McGrady game in 2004.
Ah, yes.
I was there, and I never screamed so much at an event, at an individual while he was getting interviewed after that game. It was the game where Kobe Bryant sealed the deal on who the best individual player on the planet was. And from then on, Kobe owned the best player in the league, in my book, until 2010. And I would argue that the year before he was still better than Tracy McGrady. So from 2003 to 2010, I'm not picking anybody. Even though LeBron won an MVP in 9 and 10, I thought those MVPs belonged to Kobe. And
I wouldn't disagree with you on that.
And Kobe got robbed of the 06 MVP as well. Kobe,
he started to slide a little 2010, but still at that level. You're talking that period of time, about what, 7 seasons? Yeah, I would say he
had 4 game-winning, buzzer-beating shots in one season and 3 other game-winning shots that year. If that's not an MVP, and that, by the way, that was the same year the Lakers won the title, beating all rounds 50-win teams.
Yeah.
And to me, I keep getting this conflict of what an MVP is every year, according to some assholes' feelings that year, or trying to denigrate certain things because they want certain people. Look, if you're going to vote for if you're going to vote in any award for based off your feelings in your area, then you should not have a vote. And I was thinking about how I was going to get on here today. And then I started thinking, I'm not going to come on here and I'm not going to go cry and all that. I believe there's a time where we need to stop talking about those who aren't here anymore. Sure, a few times here and there, you know, on the birthday or a special day. Yeah, sure. But Kobe, I feel like Kobe's situation is not stopping. Every time I go on the internet, every time I go to social media, there's something going on, and I'm kind of just over it. I'm tired of looking at it because I want to feel like Steve Van Zandt, the guy that played Silvio Dante on The Sopranos. He didn't run into James Gandolfini a lot, but when he did, they obviously, you know, conversed and did what they did. But when they didn't see each other, he just assumed he was somewhere. And for me, this is just me. I'm not saying that it's wrong for you all to honor him, but it's just, I'd like to, the less I see him, the more my brain feels like he's still out there. Mm-hmm. But if every time I get online, every time I'm anywhere, oh, Kobe this and R.I.P. Kobe, and his daughter. And the worst part is the daughter thing, you know, because every time I watch the WNBA, I'm like, we were about to watch this, and it's very, very frustrating. That adds to the frustration as well. So, but I did think about this within the last 15, 20 minutes. There's been some commentary about Kobe Bryant's 62-point game against Dallas, an 81-point game against the Toronto Raptors. And folks, this is how lies
Which
start.
is greater?
Well, I'll tell you what was greater according to the numbers. There's this, because people don't pay attention to details, people get mesmerized by the what ifs. So what ifs, right? So I started extrapolating those games. Kobe played 33 minutes in the Dallas game. He played 42 minutes in the Raptors game. Now, mind you, what I'm telling you right now is not actually the basis of why I'm bringing up those games. I'll get to the good part here. Well, both are good parts, but one is more subtle and explanatory. The other one is calling out someone. So if you extrapolate the minutes, and you have to factor in real life. Folks, when we talk about comparing things, if you're comparing something that you weren't at live at that time, with the pressures of that time and things going on live, you cannot make an assessment on what you feel off of a YouTube video or what some Yahoo says online. You have to be in it to really know what it meant at that moment. Does that make sense, Gerald?
That makes perfect sense.
Okay, so I'll leave it at that. I'll leave that at that. We'll probably talk about that 100 times before we're dead. When you extrapolate the numbers, Kobe scored more points in the amount of time he would have played in the Dallas game and in the Toronto game.
Mm-hmm.
It would not have been, Kobe would have scored 90 in the Dallas game. We don't know
because the
that.
Dallas game he was leading throughout. Remember, they were behind
right.
a great portion in the first half, or actually a great part of the first half.
Correct.
Against Toronto.
Correct. Now, that's yes. However, you have to factor in you don't know a guy's going to score 70 or 80 points or 60 points in the first quarter. So I want you all to remember this. During that time, especially in 06, Kobe was essentially playing the entire first quarter, half or 8 minutes. So he's either playing 6 or 8 minutes in the second quarter. He's either taking a 4 or 6 minute break. Then he comes back playing all of the third, and then he would play probably all the fourth if it depended on, or actually I should say he would usually take off the first 4 to 6 minutes of the fourth and then finish the game off. That was the rotation at the time. Now, in the Toronto game, he did his usual 6 minute break.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he played the first quarter, got a 6 minute break in the second quarter, and then obviously he played pretty much the entire second half because he was going after the record, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you look at his scoring in the first quarter, he scored 14 points in the first, 12 points in the second. He scored 26 points. Folks, if you watch the games that year, I watched every single one. And I was half drunk watching that, by the way, because that was the same day the Steelers went to the Super Bowl. It was the Jerome Bettis, let's take Jerome Bettis to Detroit game in Denver. And the only reason why I missed the first quarter and a half of it because I was passed out on my couch. And then I woke up, I was like, oh my God, the Toronto game or the Laker game. And of course, we witnessed what we witnessed. And we witnessed something that was amazing because they led SportsCenter on Championship Sunday with the Kobe game. So those who want to ask how great that freaking guy was, he backpaged Championship Sunday. That's how great Kobe was. And I can have a discussion about this. I have 100 other stories I could tell you if we had time or when we have time.
Well, I was also saying why people romanticize and we think so highly of the 81-point game because, for instance, with Wilt Chamberlain's game, there's no footage. There's no pictures. There's no footage. There's nothing outside of the people who were there, the scores that reported on it, and the picture after the game of Wilt Chamberlain 100. That's all we know. This is the closest thing that will, that right as of right now, we have seen close to that 100-point game is the 81-point game that you and I both saw live.
Sure. So when you look at the games, Kobe played 33 minutes and scored 62 points, and they were blowing Dallas out at the end of the third.
Mm-hmm.
And when I put together a 48-minute average, he hit, I believe it was a little over 89, 90 points if he had played the entire game. The Toronto game, he would have scored 91 if he had played all, according to how he scored in the minutes he played, right?
Yeah.
So 91 points would have been the number had he played all 48 minutes. But you can't predict that. And in the Wilt Chamberlain time, he played 48 minutes all the time. We didn't, you don't have that in the NBA.
It wasn't
anymore.
until the third quarter that
Right.
you're onto something special, because it looked like it'd just be like a 50-point game or something like that at the half.
Now here's the thing I want to make very clear, and it's nice to have something here sometimes that can be viral down the road if I become famous, that people can find out. John Sally, I don't know what's going on with John Sally. I think that hippie lettuce that he keeps smoking is starting to melt his brain. But there's an interview where he's criticizing Phil Jackson. And I don't know. He said that Phil Jackson said something. I don't believe him. I do not believe him. And I can actually prove that it's bullshit. Okay? Kobe Bryant, because the discussion in that podcast is that Phil Jackson didn't let Kobe score 100 points in the Toronto game. That's a lie. Oh, and let me reverse the Dallas game, because that one was the one first. That was the first one. That happened first. Kobe it's confirmed by Brian Shaw that Phil said, does Kobe want to go back into the fourth quarter? Brian Shaw brokered that discussion to Kobe. Kobe said, don't worry about it, I'll get it next time. Kobe said, I don't need to go back into the fourth quarter. And then in the Toronto game, there was no time in that game for Phil to take him out. The only time Phil took out Kobe in that game is in the first quarter, when I told you he had dropped 26 points. No one would have predicted. Kobe was scoring 20 and 25 points, 26 points in the first quarter all year practically. So you would have never guessed he would have went off the way he did.
It was that third quarter, plus the Lakers were behind.
Right. The third quarter, played all the third quarter, played almost the entire fourth until, was it Devin Green checked in for him in the last 30 seconds. So it's a blatant lie that guy would make up a story like that and not realizing that some of us watched the game. How is Phil Jackson keeping him from scoring 100 points backwards? There's no way Phil knows in the middle of the second quarter, when he hasn't even scored 26 points yet, that he's going to go for 100 points. So I'm glad you did this, because it actually started making my brain work.
Wasn't going to be any somber yet.
And then I want to thank our crowd who, coaxed me into coming onto the show. Because again, I didn't want this to be a remembrance. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of feeling sad and talking about something that's happened. It's happened. It's been 4+ years now. It's time to, let it go. It sucks. It's life. And again, I'm trying to bring a little bit. I'm trying to bring something here that
but
is.
He lives on, Joe, and that's why I wanted to do this show, because not only is it Kobe Bryant Day, but what is it about him that still has so many people resonating all around the world? They're still wearing Kobe jerseys all around the world. They're still talking about the Mamba mentality all around the world, Joe. Why is that still the case? And that's what I just wanted to go ahead and hear for the fans and hear for the listeners and hear for the viewers out there, why Kobe still resonates so positively with them.
Well, I mean, you'd have to ask them. I'm sure the easiest.
Well, that's what I was looking for answers.
The easiest answer is he lived away. He lived by a code that most people can't live by, but lived that through him. The Mamba mentality is ferociousness. which is funny too, because every time I see him with any kind of snake, it's never a black mamba. It's always some kind of black snake or some kind of fake ass python. But
Rough artist, you mentioned Tupac. Why does Tupac live on to this day? There's those Joe, and you know this, with the Marilyn Monroes, Elvis, Tupac. There's those figures that posthumously have continued to live on in the public consciousness, as Kobe will continue to do for decades more, Joe.
Here's the difference between maybe James Dean, not so much, because I asked this question, and maybe because I didn't feel it like maybe the rest of the world, but I asked people who were big Michael Jackson fans. I've never asked anybody that was a big Elvis fan. I don't know too many big Elvis fans, but I asked a couple of my friends who were big Michael Jackson fans. I said, I don't know, folks. I go, this feels worse. I didn't feel anything. I mean, I felt sadness that, because Michael's the greatest entertainer that's probably ever lived. I didn't feel like the earth stopped when Michael Jackson died, or Whitney Houston died, or when Prince died. I didn't feel it. I think the last time I felt a little like, wow, this is really kind of affecting me, was when Dale Earnhardt Sr. passed away. And it's not an accident that both those guys, and at the time, there was no such thing as Mamba mentality, but that was the guy. That's the Mamba mentality guy. That's what Dale Earnhardt was. He had the Mamba mentality. He wanted to destroy you. Kobe wanted to destroy you. And, we got our boy Jeff, who's, happy-go-lucky guy, positive guy. Jeff, I'm not patronizing you. I listen to your show all the time. You're a very positive guy. You're always, thanks, fam, thanks this, thanks that. Hey, we all got to have those people out there. But I'm about the venom. I'm about the defending. That's what I do. And sometimes it spills into normal conversation. And believe it or not, my method and my personality has built my life in a very good way, as much as it doesn't look like it on a podcast. Believe me, I'm not as crazy as you all might think. I think a lot of it is the discussions that do it. I don't have these kind of discussions at home because no one in my life really does what I do. So maybe I don't have. That's probably why I don't. I have a separation. There's a separation. That's why. My family, my friends, they like simple things. Me, I complicate things with things like sports and things that don't matter to them. But the issue with Kobe and him being gone is that he didn't have substance abuse issues. He was building an aura that was almost starting to get bigger than his career. And that we might have seen something greater than his basketball career. And that right there is what really sucks and why I don't like to talk about it.
Empire Jeff.
Jeff, you're weak.
He is that mean in person.
You're weak.
Person. He is that.
And we're gonna find that out live one day. I call you weak. I just did. Nice and weak.
He's that mean. He's that mean. Once again, it is the Lakers. You two still got to have that podcast you guys were threatening with us. For months you were like, gotta have that show about the Chris Paul trade. Gonna have that show on the Chris Paul trade. You guys said
we discussed that today, so we'll figure it out.
All right, I hope you guys do. But it is, of course, the Lakers fast break. We didn't want any somber yapping today. Just wanted some good thoughts from you out there. What resonates Kobe in your mind? Wanted to mention something that Jamie Sweet popped in there. He said Kobe was a phenomenal hooper, like all of us, also a flawed human. And it's the journey he was in that cut short. That was the true tragedy. Yes, it was a tragedy, but the mentality, the drive, the way he wanted to make himself better, even after he retired from the game of basketball, Joe, I think was really what a lot of people admire the most about Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, he was inspiring in a way where we can't really measure yet. we're never going to be able to. Jamie mentioned flawed human being. I think I know where he's going with that. I think flawed human being is a little redundant. Human beings are flawed. They're every single one, but there are certain levels of it. The one that we all know about that was a major flaw during his life. We've had to go back and forth on our thoughts on that. The other is, I'd say probably the second. Well, I mean, I'm kind of torn. It might be even in my book, but I know that might not sound good. But I don't like the fact that he wasn't in good with his family. I think that because my barometer on people usually is, are you good with your family? And I think it was tragic that his parents and him are on the outs. And from everything that I've read, it seems like it was not his fault. The greed of things end up happening, and you don't know what the inside information is. I think that one always bothered me. I don't like seeing a father and a mother and their kid kind of at not happy. That's just a bad construction for me. But of course, he was a great dad. Cleaned up his family.
And that's what's sad, that he and his family, his parents, just that whole thing started to go awry, and it's just sad. Yeah,
it is, and
I don't want to touch on it too much because that would be too somber. So,
well, the somberness it's not really somber. It's.
I mean, it was brought back up to life after Jelly Bean passed away earlier this year.
Yeah, it's.
Vanessa kind of touched on it a little bit in that statement she made.
We know. I think my assumptions on it is it's different when it comes to money. Does things
I like that, Bloodhound? Acrimonious.
Back to what I'm saying. Back to maybe what we've been discussing with money. Money has its way of division more than connection, and there was a tech billionaire who died recently on a boat. And you should have seen the comments on there. You should have seen the comments on social media.
In that super yacht.
The ocean one, where the courts could, like, complete ignorance in. And this is why the human being is so flawed, like Jamie was pointing out. The human being is such a pathetic.
His daughter passed away too.
Now that's what I wrote. I said, so you're criticizing this guy whom you don't know because he's a billionaire and you think he's just some crook, right? Because he's a billionaire. He died with his daughter, likely knowing he was going to die with his daughter. He had to see that likely before, because ships are not going into mountains, right? They're sinking or something. There's probably thinking going on at that point before you die. And this is an 18-year-old who died, and you're making a billionaire joke about it. And those people at the root I don't even know if there's a word to describe them, but they are the ass pimples of human beings. And while they don't deserve death for those kind of thoughts, they deserve close to death just for having that thought. Scumbags. I mean, scum is the only thing I can really say without being too vulgar. And as far as Kobe's concerned, in the end, I think the frustration is that we knew he was going to do more, and we're never going to know.
Yeah, I mean, it started with an Academy Award winning short, if I remember correctly. So, which again, I don't want to get too somber.
17 months after he retired, he wins an Oscar. I mean, come on, guys. Really? You're telling me this guy couldn't do anything? This guy could do anything. He could do anything, and he was going to do so much more. He was transforming a league that he wasn't even in.
All I can tell you, Joe, from my end, is that I admired Kobe, and I really thought it was going to be something special, because the way he came back after that Utah series in his rookie season, where, everybody that is a Kobe or follower or an NBA fan knows how that lasting performance there was in that first playoff set, including all those air balls. But it didn't phase him. The way it didn't phase him, his interviews over the course of that summer and into training camp and into next season, you could see that it wasn't going to dictate the rest of his life. It wasn't going to dictate the rest of his career. And I could see and hear him. And I saw him in the games at that point in time, making a point it wasn't going to do just that. And that to me just started endearing me to him even more, Joe. I'm just going to be honest with you, because that's, everybody, he received a lot of flack, and there was no social media at the time after he was hitting those air balls. If it was today, if it's 2024 and a rookie does that today, he is just absolutely obliterated online after something like that. Well, Kobe took that criticism and the heat and whatever was said about him at the time, and it fueled him for the rest of his career.
I don't remember. It was a point of discussion, but I don't ever feel.
For me, it was for a radio at that time. It was. I can tell you. I can tell you point blank. It was.
There needed to be some blame on Del Harris, who held them back.
Oh yeah, well that's
all year, and. Kobe was a first timer in this new era of NBA basketball. He was the first perimeter player to come out from high school to the NBA. For those who don't know, typically basketball players are very, very skinny and small, and Kobe was a 6'5", 6'6", 190-pound high school player. It's different when you're but you still got to know how to, you're going in with men who have been playing for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. These guys are 6'8". These guys are 6'7". These guys are 7 feet tall. And some of these guys can move like gazelles. That's the point. NBA basketball players are freakishly amazing. And for the dumbskis out there that think that athleticism started in 2012, you just got to watch some basketball, real basketball with real time. Not highlights, folks. Real basketball. And you'll see freakish athletes playing at that time. You think Karl Malone wasn't a freakish athlete? You think Shawn Kemp wasn't a freakish athlete? Who has footwork like Hakeem Olajuwon at 6'10" in today's game? Who? David Robinson? Who? Shaquille O'Neal? Who? So when you get into your heads and manifest this fantasy that athleticism is only now with LeBron, Steph, and the non-fundamental slapstick three-point shooting era of basketball. You know what? You're never going to learn. You're going to believe what you want to believe. That's fine. Vince Carter too, rough artist. Thank you. You're gonna continue to be wrong, and that's just because you got no backing on what you're saying. And I'd love to have a discussion.
Well, we deal with this every day on our email, and we'll just leave it at that. But it is
when we talk about opinion versus an opinion is an opinion. There's nothing you can really argue against that. So, but there are, like, for example, if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I think David Robinson is the greatest basketball player that ever lived," what are you going to say?
Prove it to me.
Prove it. And we'll stack it next to whatever. But are they really going to change their minds?
Probably not.
No. Usually that discussion turns into an overall discussion that goes nowhere. Much like the greatest player of all time. If you're not born in the 70s, at least in the late 70s, you have no argument in the LeBron versus Jordan argument. You have no argument. You have no place there. I'm sorry, you don't. And I think that's something that needs to come out more. Stop having this discussion unless you were watching the games live.
WGN.
When that time mattered, when you felt that moment of the game and how things progressed and the ebb and flows of the game, because that is the difference. That's the difference.
I want to thank WGN for having WGN America and showing a lot of those games on nationwide TV. Because remember that was a WGN America was a cable station. It's actually a local station, but expanded to national coverage via cable at that cable explosion at the time, Joe. And because of that, you and I were privileged to see quite a few of those Jordan-esque games.
Yeah, it's 90s was everyone thinks their adolescent decade is the best. That when I say adolescence, it's usually high school, like middle school, high school, college era, that time, because you're young, you're full of juice, and you're not yet hit with the perils of life. The 90s in terms of sports might have been the greatest decade because of the presentation of sports changed. The way sports was delivered on TV. Guys like Dan Patrick, Keith Olbermann, Stuart Scott, Linda Cohn, Hannah Storm, and of course you had the regulars like Al Michaels and Bob Costas, and then you had Keith Jackson for college. I mean, it was just that decade was like it was the perfect decade for sports. The TV, technology in general, the internet coming here in the mid 90s, everything was just in that moment, and everything was great. The economy was great. We didn't really have a lot of conflict like we have now politically, even though you had two different regimes during that decade. They kind of worked well together. You know, there's all 90s was when you look at everything in the 90s, and I'm not downgrading the 2000s. I thought the 2000s were pretty good too. The only thing that sucked is 9/11. I think if 9/11 hadn't happened, I think we probably would have had a 20-year run there where it was as prosperous as you could be in America. But the 90s was, I think we really took advantage of the new things and embraced them, and it was good. Whereas now, every time a new thing comes out, we abuse it, use it, and then it becomes a detriment in the end.
Well, with that, though, again, I just want to get ready to close this conversation just by saying, again, just here to say positive things about Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, I wanted to finish off the John Sally thing is really the subject that came to my mind here when we were talking about this.
Hey,
and the utter lies.
CCGO3 says, Joe, you're right about feeling. I watched a 60-point game live, and the way I felt in the moment cannot be replicating it watching on YouTube. But still, there is a nostalgia feeling that you can have, Joe, when you watch those games on YouTube. I know in the past year, 2 years, watched some, I guess, very important marquee Lakers games. And it always, for me, just gives me the good feels. Not the exact true same emotion I felt,
but you can't compare that.
No,
you cannot compare the unknown with the known.
Okay,
you're not nervous. You're not.
Yeah, because
feeling. Right. Yes, you're not feeling that you're not in the moment, and
but it's still nostalgic, and it's still.
Yeah, I know that you're not paying attention to what I'm saying.
Yes, I know.
I'm talking about when you're comparing something. Okay, if you're someone who's saying, "Oh my God, this is the greatest game ever," and then you're sitting there going, "Oh wait, I was born 14 years after this happened."
It's being in the moment as opposed to.
You have to be live in it to really understand what it meant, because we get so enamored with this statistical box score garbage that you forget what sports really is. It's about how you perform in moments that are at their highest competitive volume.
For instance, you and I couldn't say anything about the Miracle Mets or some of the great moments in history in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s before we were born.
No,
because we just weren't there to experience it.
and you have to have the ethical delivery on that. You have to let everyone know, okay, we know the 1927 Yankees were arguably the greatest team ever, but I don't know. I don't really know. I can maybe do a vote on that based off of statistic stuff I saw, but I'm not going to really know if that team was better than the 96 Yankees or even the 98 Yankees. The 98 Yankees was the best team I've ever seen in baseball for a year. That's the best team I ever saw from a 1 year standpoint. I actually watched those teams play. Now, I didn't watch all 162 games. I didn't watch every playoff game that year, but I did get a chance to see enough games to know that team was a machine that just would not get stopped. And then in 2001, you had the Seattle Mariners that won 116 games, still the most in regular season, in MLB regular season history, but they ended up getting bounced in the divisional round. Oh, I'm sorry, the ALCS, I believe. Yeah.
Alfred says, good to see you all. Great to have you here. Hopefully you may be able to come on tomorrow because Legend, he was supposed to be on with me, but he's had some computer issues. He said he should have everything worked out tomorrow. So
yeah, the Dodgers are blowing it. They were up 7-5, and the bullpen absolutely just ate the bed, and now they're about to lose.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Joe.
It's too bad because they came back, and Ohtani hit that game, that
40-40, man. For earliest in his history. I can't believe it took 126 games, and he's the earliest in history to do 40-40. Does not seem like that would be as difficult that it is.
Well, it is difficult because you're asking a player to be fast and powerful. It's usually one or the other.
Ricky Henderson, I thought, would have actually got it, but
no, Ricky would have never hit 50 home runs.
Ricky would have never hit 40 home runs?
50.
No, I meant 40.
I'm sorry, 40. Yeah, he was. Yeah, that would.
Didn't he hit like 35?
I mean, he got. I'd say in his prime, he probably would have been capable, but
he was never caught up with steroids, right? But he was pretty jacked in for a good portion of those years, right? At least I thought he was.
I never heard anything.
Yeah, he never was accused of it, but when he hit 28 home runs, that's his high. So he never did 35. So it's my bad. Yeah, I thought he hit more. I thought he hit in the 30s.
Ricky could arguably be the greatest leadoff hitter of all time.
Yeah,
arguably, and even to some degree, I don't think it's an argument anymore. Really, he's the greatest stolen base player and probably ever will be.
Oh yeah. It's just a lot.
And Ricky, and even those two things, that's still not the best part of Ricky. Ricky being Ricky is the greatest thing that true. Ricky could ever be. Some of the discussions, Will Clark had a really good story about how Ricky got on first base, and Will Clark was playing for the San Francisco Giants at the time. I think it might have been an exhibition game because I think at that time they didn't have an early play, and it might have been a regular season game later, but I can't remember. But he was talking to Ricky while he was on first base, and apparently the manager for the A's at the time, Tony La Russa, said, "We're not going to. It's not going to. He didn't want him to steal a base." And Ricky said something to Will like, "Ricky gonna run. Ricky gonna run." And then he stole the base. And he goes, "Will, told you Ricky gonna run." And it's just there's so many stories of just that. And we grew up watching. I grew up basically copying Will Clark's batting stance, Ricky Henderson's batting stance, Eric Davis's batting stance, Darryl Strawberry's batting stance. That was another really great time in my life. And maybe it was because I was starting to get into sports, like right around 1988 was when I got into baseball and I could remember what was going on, the 88 World Series, all that. And I was around a lot of Oakland A's and San Francisco Giants fans because I was growing up in a small town in Central California. And you had those guys around you a lot, and you still admired them, even though I was a Dodger fan. And man, it was just it was an amazing time to be a kid and seeing all those great players. And I had the great chance of meeting Will Clark and befriending him through a friend. And a matter of fact, there's a chance I might be going to see his autism charity again this coming weekend. I'm not sure if my schedule is going to say yes 100% yet, but I'm going to try to do it. So it's nice. It's nice to kind of come full circle on that. And I was sitting there hanging out with Will Clark. He's punching me on the shoulder, and we're both drinking and having a good time. And the Dodgers had just swept the Giants when they were there too, so I was really in a good mood. But I try to be respectful and say anything. And it's sports is. That's another thing with sports is it's gotten such a negative. It's got such negative publicity because of all the richness in it. It's almost starting to teeter into the Hollywood.
It's a business in many ways, or it's being treated as such, Joe.
Yeah. Well, and I don't mind that. I'm not naive to not understand that it is a business, but at the same time, the leaders of these sports leagues are creating more of a manipulation than ever before, and that might be me being naive, and maybe it's always been there, but now because of the way information is spread out, maybe we're hearing more and more about how it works.
Well, but let's just finish this up here because again, it is Kobe Bryant Day, 8/24. His birthday actually is yesterday, but often people celebrate today as Kobe Bryant Day. So I wanted to go ahead and again pay homage to the great one, keeping it positive, keeping it real. But I wanted to just thank Joe for stopping by because, again, he was very reluctant to do so. But after some prodding from you guys out there, and he finally wanted to come out here. And I appreciate his memories. I appreciate his thoughts. I appreciate his input as always. But Joe, we will on Monday. You have my word. We're going to touch on some of the things that you asked to touch on, including maybe some future prospects on the horizon. Not clickbaity type deal, but just what could possibly pan out in the future. We'll go ahead and discuss that in detail Monday for the Lakers because you know that they're always going to be the center of conversation when it comes to whatever free agent potentially comes up. So we'll talk about that on Monday. But Joe, just fantastic to have you here as always. But any last thoughts on Kobe and what he meant to you before we head on out?
Yeah, somebody needs to tell John Sally to stop lying about Kobe games and how Phil Jackson was holding them back.
I mean,
I watched those games, folks. Kobe played 33 minutes in the Dallas game. If you look at that game, he played 12 minutes in the third, 12 minutes in the first. Played 33 minutes the whole game. Played 9 minutes in the second. So stop lying. Talk to B. Shaw about the Dallas game, and then go and watch. You don't need to ask anybody in that. Go watch the 81-point game. There's no area where Phil took him out. There's no area where you can say Phil took him out to hold him from scoring 100 points. There's no way he would have known in the middle of the second quarter that Kobe was about to score 100 points in that game. There's no way. You'll never convince anyone because it didn't happen. So stop spreading those lies. There's people out there that watch and can comprehend common sense. Stop lying to get more. You talked about clickbaity stuff. Those who clickbait are not talented. Clickbaiting, and the thing is, here's the sad part. Sometimes they're rewarded for it. So it doesn't really matter what I say. But if we're going to have to clickbait our way into prosperity, then I don't want to be involved in that. I want this to be a legitimate thing. Otherwise, it's not legitimate at all. This goes back to the money thing. Money is only important when you need to get things done. If it starts to control your life, you're done. And that's a fact. And yes, your ethics matter. Because at some point, it will come back to get you. Be careful.
Well, Sunday, I'm going to go ahead and talk to Legend 350. He hopefully will stop by and talk NBA. Maybe Alfred Esmond will join us as well. And Joe, on Monday, we will go ahead on Monday and talk about possible long-term targets the Lakers could have on the horizon. But we'll go ahead and examine, are there superstars that maybe on the horizon might make their way to the Los Angeles Lakers after LeBron is gone? We'll see what happens. But again, it is Joe Soro, aka Ox1947 at LakersBall.com and Simblades with a Y.com. I am Gerald Glassford from the Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports, Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. Thank you for listening. Again, thank you to Mark, aka Xbox, for being the first member in our membership program. It's just $2.99 a month, and that'll get you emojis, badges, and big shout outs at the beginning of the show and throughout. Hopefully, if I try to remember the best I can from all of us here. Big shout out to you, and big shout out to everyone out there that supports us and follows us. Like and subscribe. Please don't forget to do that. And of course, please do what you can to help us out right here, the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. And to everyone, have that Mamba mentality for Kobe.